the meeting, the Franklin Conservation Commission meeting for May 15th, 2025. And before we begin, I need to take a roll call.
Richard Johnson's here.
Louis Puga.
Jeff Livingstone.
Mark LePage.
Roger Trahan.
Nicola Sharamonte.
Anyone else online? No. Okay, thank you very much. So the first public hearing that we have to open today is the one for 1 Paddock Lane. I have a note here that the applicant has requested a continuance. Is there any information, new information about 1 Paddock Lane that wants to be shared? Is there anyone here for 1 Paddock Lane or online? Are there any questions about this? We'll just move to continue then, if that's not the case.
Yeah, I'll give you a motion to continue the NOI for 1 Paddock Lane to May 29th at 7:01 PM.
Second.
Okay.
Vote to continue.
Vote to continue.
Continue,
Vote to continue.
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 continue, thank you. Okay. We'll move along to the next public hearing, which is the ANRAD for 47 Partridge Street. Is there anyone here for 47 Partridge Street or online?
Wow.
I think we expected someone to be here, correct?
Yeah, because we had, it's Rick Goudreau, right? And I think, yeah, last time we wrote up the ORAD, and we had talked about actually getting.
Right, and we had the issues, some of the issues that were online about the resource area, right, the measurements from either the center of Shepherd's Brook and not the mean annual high water, right, and that was basically a law, basically, right, regulation. And then we also had the issue about if the applicant was going to use FEMA data for delineating the bordering lands subject to flood, then that would be fine for that specific instance. But if I recall, if FEMA ever altered or modified those maps, then that would basically essentially, inviolate the actual delineation. The delineation would no longer be valid. I think that was correct, right?
Yeah, the one thing I'd say, and I don't know if there's a procedural way to pause this and see if Rick or Chris Fradioli actually presented on behalf of United. One thing I think we wanted to do, right, we had the conversation where Chris was talking about how muddy.
Oh, yes,
Shepherd's
correct.
Brook was, right?
Correct.
Tough to get back there, to get to the establish the mean high water mark. The suggestion would be if he were here or somebody from United, that they put on the record the actual processes or actions they took to establish that.
Did you put that in the record?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, to have
right.
that in the record. We had a
Right.
good discussion about it. I think we were comfortable, arguably, with their position, but it would be beneficial, I think, just to have what they did do in the record, since they aren't going by the bylaw there.
So, just again, for complete transparency to the rest of the commissioners, there was a discussion with Brika Lai after that original meeting. And the question really was, what is standard protocol when someone who's trying to delineate does not appear to be able to get into an area? We have had that in the past where people there's just no way. It's like a thicket or like,
Right.
or, like you basically be torn apart by all the rows, multiflora rows, basically, right? She was not so sympathetic, just being as a professional. She was like, you just have to get your gear in and go. So, but, that's, I don't know, so, but
I think that's a little bit strong.
I think we kind of have to, because then, again, I'm just kind of going on precedent.
Yeah.
There have been cases in the past where,
Yeah.
and we have seen the pictures, and it's like,
I think
I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back.
I think we have a close enough understanding of where the frigging river is,
Right,
that we don't have to go in there and drown.
right.
To
right,
figure it
right,
out.
Right, but I do agree with Mark. I think it would be a good idea for at least what was that process where they did demarcate, you know, to put that.
Yeah, weren't they
actually-
gonna be, they
That
were,
we expected that
We,
they
we,
would.
we expected
yeah.
them to be.
yeah, because we said, hey, next time we're gonna
Right,
Correct.
put a ribbon around this thing and you can be.
that's what we thought.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. It wasn't Wicked Drilling United. I conflated. It was Chris from Goddard.
Okay, yes, Kristen Guard, right,
So
okay,
I
okay,
misspoke that.
Okay.
There's a couple other United
okay.
applications here, so I was conflating two, but
Okay.
it's Chris from Goddard, and yeah, that's what
So,
we talked about.
so I think, I mean,
Mr.
you
Chair.
guys, yes,
This is Danny Lewis, the applicant. Rick Goudreau should be there momentarily. He said he's pulling into the parking lot as we speak.
okay, do we want to take
Yeah.
like a 2-minute recess?
Or can we push through and accomplish a couple other things?
Okay, if you're okay, Mr. Applicant, we will basically go onto the next hearing and come back to this right as soon as Rick shows up, so that we just don't have to do anything. Is that okay?
That's perfect, yeah.
All right,
Appreciate
okay.
it.
All right, sure, okay, let's do that then.
Yeah, I mean, might as well get some stuff accomplished while.
All right, okay. So we're skipping this one, correct? Mark?
Yep.
You going to
Okay.
Panther Way or,
Yeah, we're not, that was just a placeholder for us, okay? And
okay,
then the next one, okay, so now I'll go ahead and open up the NOI for 151 Grove Street. There are notes here that the applicant did commit to a formal response to Beta's peer review, which was finished. However, we have not seen that. We don't know if that happened. So I'll let you take it from here then.
Sure. For the record, Michael Hassett from Gergen Hellman for the applicant. That's entirely on me. We went through the letter in person, and I had it in my head that all those issues were resolved, and it just didn't stick in my head long enough to write the letter out.
Okay,
So, I mean, what we do have, the conditions written up, you know, it would have been nice just to make sure, have the response, so I can read through them.
I understand that, and I apologize
Yeah,
for
that's-
that,
yeah.
oversight.
Everybody else comfortable with that?
yes.
All right, so we've got them written out. Let me just get in addition to that. listing of conditions themselves.
And I do have the plans if you need them brought up for anything.
Okay.
I'm good with that. Here we go. All right. Anybody have any questions before we read this into the
Yeah,
record?
the main thing was to get in the record, that was it.
Yeah.
Yep.
No questions? Okay. Anything from the public on 151 Grove Street? All right. On with the special conditions. So first, the findings, so the above notice of intent, or following the review of the above referenced note of intent, or following notice of intent, based on the information provided in this application and presented at the public hearing, the commission finds that the areas in which work is proposed is significant to the following interests of the Wetlands Protection Act: public water supply, private water supply, groundwater, storm damage prevention, prevention of pollution, protection of wildlife habitat, and flood control. Standard special conditions that we would apply would be 19, mitigation planning plan, 20, erosion control barriers, 21, extra silation barriers, 24, work performed according to plan, 26, provisions of plans in order of conditions, 27, approved changes, 28, notification prior to work, 29, right to impose additional conditions, 30, errata as changes, 31, compliance contact information, 33, use of clean fill, 34, no straw bales, 35, stockpile maintenance, 37, remedy upon problem identification, 39, limit of work mark, 41, inspections of disposal of sediment, 44, removal of barriers, 45, dewatering plan, 46, stockpile location, 47, removal of sediment, 51, building permit sign off, and then additional special conditions we would have would be 52, applicant shall submit a notice of intent to the Environmental Protection Agency under the construction general permit to provide the approved permit to the Conservation Commission and Department prior to the commencement of work. 53, the applicant shall provide to the Conservation Commission and Department a stormwater pollution prevention plan to be approved prior to commencement of work. 54, applicant shall provide to the Conservation Commission and Department an erosion and sediment plan which includes contact information of person or persons responsible for inspection and maintenance of erosion controls and all other requirements in section 7.12.1 of the bylaw regulations. Applicant shall provide to the 55, applicant shall provide to the Conservation Commission and Department a project narrative as outlined in bylaw regulations, section 7.9.1, including who is performing the work and when the proposed activity will be done to be approved prior to the commencement of work. 56, applicant will provide information to the Conservation Commission and Department on sedges added to the base of the riprap and the outflow areas subject to approval before construction is completed. 57, applicant will provide to the Conservation Commission and Department the species list and the proposed seed mix that will be used in the jurisdictional areas and include this information on the plans to be approved prior to the work, commencement of work. All good?
All good.
All right.
Okay.
So with that,
We good?
We good, everybody?
all right.
I'll give you a motion.
Wait, Nicole, we're reading, are you all right? Okay. All right, so I'll give you a motion.
I'll give you a motion to approve the NOI for 151 Grove Street with the aforementioned special conditions.
Okay,
Second that.
okay.
Vote to approve.
Vote to approve.
Approved?
Approve?
Approve.
Approved?
It is approved, thank you. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you.
Thank you. And we got 55 Milliken.
Okay.
Oh, wait, Rick's here.
Okay, no, okay, so Rick, we're gonna go back to, no, we're gonna go back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Rick, we've got the ORAD. One thing we would like to see if you could do is just read in for the record the process. You know, we talked about the establishing the mean annual high water mark for Shepherd's Brook and getting in there, how it was muddy. If you guys could just run through for the record what process you did take to establish the riverfront for Shepherd's Brook.
Sure, I can do the best I can. Chris Fratarelli from Goddard had gone through the process at the last hearing, so I can reiterate what he said. I wasn't personally on site when that was done. But the conditions were such that, field conditions were such, excuse me, that they weren't able to get out there without a canoe. So what Chris had done, and he had sent us, and we have on the plan, the 2023 aerial imagery stock, and that was utilized and updated from the original plan that we had used from the original filing that raised concerns by DEP.
Right.
So we used the more up-to-date 2023 aerial photo of the river itself. That was basically traced onto the plan.
Okay.
And then, as we've noted, we measured from the easterly sideline of the river, the riparian zones, from that, where that line was established. I know there was some concerns from DEP. I believe, unfortunately, what happens is these plans are scanned and then emailed and then printed, and there can be some scaling effects.
Yep.
But on the original plan, we confirmed that in the original application, the 200-foot was in fact measured from the riverfront. However, I printed out a scanned copy that was emailed to everybody, scaled that, and it was between the two. So it's a scaling effect that can happen, and it's, you know, critical that they confirm that the scale is accurate. Unfortunately, that happens. We've had that happen on other PDFs, different people's printers. You know, we had a situation in Walpole, the town engineer had printed out some stuff and the scale factors were off a little bit. I'm not an expert on printers, but that can happen.
Well, what happens is sometimes PDFs come across as like an image and basically tries to put the image, you know, to the
paper.
contours of the paper and not the original actually metrics of the
Scale, correct.
Yeah, exactly.
And I can't say if it's lost in the scanning that happens to create the PDFs.
Well,
you know.
usually, no, it's usually in the printer settings.
Correct.
Like in
It's in
printer
the
settings,
printer.
you know, they say expand it to, and it's just.
In my business, when we doing estimates all the time, you have to be brutally careful about
Right,
making copies
yeah.
and
Right.
confirming that the goddamn scale is still what it's
Still the
supposed to
same
be.
way,
You can
yeah.
get in
Yeah.
big trouble that way.
Yeah, especially.
So if
when-
you have an original someplace, keep it.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, we do have a graphic scale for someone to compare the actual scale. And we have noted on the plan that we had measured the riverfront areas from the sideline and the source in which we had gotten the river
Be
location.
better off taking that down to a printer and having print a half a dozen copies of it.
Well, we could make paper copies of the originals, but now everybody wants the PDFs.
Well,
They
So they
send
move
them. I mean,
around, yeah.
We filed original
Yeah.
prints with the commission's office
Yeah, yeah,
and with DEP.
Yeah.
Actually, I take that back. DEP we email now. Since COVID, we don't mail them paper copies anymore. Everything's done electronically,
Okay, interesting.
which is convenient. but,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
All right.
Did you have something, Louis?
No, I was just reading through the beta letter here. So one of the things that they commented was the site plan states that the river location taken from the Plan 1469 of 1987 and was not field located. Mass DEP notes that the age of the plan used to locate Shepherd's Brook may not be accurate reflection of the Brooks River line characteristics in present day. So is there something that, you stated that there's something more recent that
If
you
you
can
look at
use?
the next note, they did get a 2023.
2023, okay,
So-
2023, yeah.
yeah, I think that was the original comment, and
Right.
Yeah.
okay.
we
Went back
addressed
in.
So
that.
that was already common address, so,
Yeah.
okay.
So, yeah,
So-
I mean, good catch, right? So, you know, just using aerial imagery is not standard ops.
Yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah.
they did address the one comment, which is they went more recent. So just using the imagery is not standard ops. The conversation last time was based on the condition of the riverfront itself, that they could not make it back there. So that's the decision. We talked about it last time, we just need to finalize and
Yeah.
formalize. And I'm not saying we need to agree to that, but that's kind of what's on the table. Are we comfortable with that?
Without a field verified.
Correct.
Right.
Totally field clarified.
So could there be drone footage?
That's still a picture.
I mean, the aerial footage is,
But then we could find out what it looks like right now, right?
well, the 23 aerial imagery does that, right?
From 2023, right?
Right, but, and, you know, at least, and, so we could, right, from a DEP standpoint, the age of the imagery is not an issue anymore. It's
Okay.
whether, but we could talk about that, right, but from a DEP standpoint, that was, and from Beta, that was addressed. The issue is whether we want to require more be done on the ground. The discussion last time was no, given the conditions of the riverfront. You know, so that's, in my opinion, what we need to decide on it, but we can talk about anything.
Mhm.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I do have the aerial imagery picture if somebody would like to see it.
Yeah.
I do have a couple of questions.
Mhm. Please, go ahead.
Let me go now.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
So,
Hold on, he's, I didn't want him to miss your question.
And that's what we utilize.
Right.
So I'm not sure a drone footage would provide anything more.
Rick,
Yeah.
make sure I get a copy of that to you for our conservation.
Sure.
my question was, when Jeff, when you were talking about the FEMA floodplain,
Yeah.
this past week, now there was a new updated one accepted by the town council.
Okay,
So does that affect anything that we have in front of us?
well, that's a question for Rick. I mean, does that impact you guys? I mean, if they,
The condition that we had talked about, from my understanding, is that we were requesting that the Conservation Commission approve the FEMA 100-year floodplain line based on the elevations from the previous mapping. I'm not aware that any mapping has been revised from FEMA.
okay,
Well, my understanding is that the town council was updating their zoning bylaws, as the zoning bylaw also has issues relative to floodplain, basically construction within the floodplain. So I'm not aware of any new mapping that's come out from FEMA.
Okay,
But the recommendation from Beta was that if there are any subsequent changes,
yeah,
that this would be null and void, and we'd have to adhere by the newer information.
right.
So if the commission was comfortable with that, we're comfortable with that.
As long as we have that understanding, I think so,
Yeah,
yes.
that was Beta's recommendation,
Right.
and we're good with that.
So we wrote that variable up as a modified delineation in the ORAD, right?
Okay,
So that
Yep,
we're approving it, given what we know today. If the FEMA data changes, then we have the right to re-review that. And that's exactly what we talked about, and that, if we,
mhm.
so I think that's arguably, stuff, but any other questions? Or
I
is that-
do,
Does
yes.
that answer that question?
That answers
for you?
that question,
Okay.
yes. So, I just feel like, are we setting an incorrect precedent by saying it was too thick to get in there, and therefore we'll accept an aerial picture or floodplain? I mean, what if this was going on at another location where the townspeople are really against it, and we just accepted it based on, we can't get in there?
Well, I can only.
Well,
go-
we're not accepting this just on, we had a very long conversation with a young man that tried to get in there. And because we've approved this one, doesn't mean we're gonna approve the next one,
Right, but I just.
or the
said-
next one after that.
Again, there is historical
There's-
precedent. We have done this for other locations where it was very clear you could not, or you would not want to send a human without, like, body covering armor into an area. It just wasn't practical, or it wasn't safe.
They wouldn't be able to go up a river or anything, in a kayak or something, or is that just not?
That's interesting.
Or like over a cliff. I mean, it's like, it's just, there are places you just can't get to.
Because this plan was delineated, you said years ago, or a few years back,
Which plan, I'm
a
sorry?
a similar plan, or no, we delineated, the way I understood you to say, we delineated the river back a year or two, and this is pretty much, the aerial footage shows pretty much what we had then.
So what we had done on the original submission 5 months ago was we had utilized the plan of record for the creation of these lots. The lot line for these lots was the center of the river.
So somebody got up into that river?
No, that was traced from the plan of record from the 1980s. DEP commented that that wasn't, in their opinion, a representative example of what was happening out here. Our wetland consultant, Goddard Consultants, provided the 2023 area, which I just gave you a copy of. We revised the plan to reflect a 2023 aerial photo of where the river is located on this plan that we now have before you. So that revision was made. So we had an old riverfront line, and we have a new riverfront line from 2023. Does that address your question?
Yeah, it addresses the question, yes.
Thank you.
But I have a question now.
Sure.
So the mud that Chris couldn't traverse through, where is then the high water mark? Are we doing it where he could not go through, or
We're
is it gonna be from the 2023 plan?
from the 2023 plan.
So why was it so muddy there? Was it from the rain, or was it from the,
Unfortunately, I can't answer that question. I wasn't
that
there.
was that's my point.
Yeah.
Like, is it from the river swelling, and then it receded, and the mud is
According to
where-
my recollection of Chris's description a couple weeks ago, the river is contained within the banks. Okay, why the mud is there, I mean, it could be 6 inches above the river, and groundwater's there, that could cause the mud. I can't answer that, unfortunately.
and-
But it's very flat, that I do know. I mean, I've seen the site, I've been to the site, I've seen the area from the road, you can look up the river, but I didn't personally try and walk out there. So I don't know what the cause of the mud is.
Because if it's muddy just there and it wasn't muddy, do you see what I'm saying? And now you're saying it's flat, so my point is that where did the water then come from if it wasn't muddy throughout the whole flat area?
I'm not following you. There's no groundwater in the muddy area,
Okay.
okay? I mean, there's no surface water, according to Chris.
Okay.
The channel is a well-defined channel, as you can see in the picture. We're not seeing, water extending significant distance. He talked about the stream sats analysis, he talked about the width of the river. The channel was consistent with those calculations,
But my concern is, was there an event that caused it that way, or is it like that all the time? That's what I'm asking, yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't answer that. I don't know. I mean, that would be a question for Chris.
Mhm.
Has Beta been out to this site to confirm where the flags were?
So, they were yes, so right, looking for the comment here. So the answer is yeah, Roger. Essentially, and I'll find it, right, I think what you've got is a deferral to the commission, to us, as to whether we're gonna accept the process as stated on the record. And, the fact, which is basically the fact that they use aerial footage, right, or aerial view, and we're not able to field validate those projections, right? I mean, Beta didn't go back in the river either, right? They're analyzing their response and defer to us to evaluate whether we'll accept that. So that's why we're talking about it, right, is to decide how we want to handle that.
I thought that the young gentleman that gave that presentation to the last meeting gave a very thorough and complete analysis of what he went through there to try to establish this. And I thought we were kind of in agreement that he'd give it his best shot and that
Yes,
we're in pretty good shape
that's true.
here.
That was how we wound.
That we're not
up,
gonna
yeah.
be
That was how we
missing anything here by any great degree.
Wait, what Beta says is the river area depicted on the plans is not accurate, as the river area shown is measured from the center line of Shepherd's Brook, not the mean annual high water. They're recommending that it should be delineated based on the mean annual high water boundary in the field, right? So then we discussed why Chris from Goddard felt that wasn't possible. So that's kind of the decision we have to make.
Well, I understand that, but was there an event that made it mucky and muddy back
Yeah,
there?
I mean, good question.
That's my question. I mean, if it was just,
I don't
did the
know.
water
Yeah.
flood, go over the bank, and then what was, if we make this decision, then,
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're talking about,
Yeah.
right? 100%, so.
I mean, it was something that he said that made me think that that's why I've changed my position on it.
Okay. Louis, any thoughts?
So what are we gonna do? We're gonna
So-
tell him to get his butt back out there and measure it?
Well, we could, kind of, we heard from everybody. Louis would be interested in hearing your opinion. What we could do is we could informally poll the commission here and see what we want to do. Louis, I don't know if you'd like to weigh in. You don't have to, but.
No, I just was curious to see, you said you updated the drawings for this?
Yes.
Recently? Because I was just looking at our folders here. I saw one dated December 23rd, 2024. So I think that's the previous one, right? So
Yes, it was revised on 4/9/25.
4925, do we have that on? So, I just couldn't find it on the folder. I just kind of wanted to see what really, if there's much of a difference between,
Looks like the plan revision was loaded on the 10th. That's probably it.
just don't have a hard copy.
Actually, is that the one?
I'm just not that comfortable with someone saying, well, I can't get out there, so
Okay.
we're gonna go along with it.
Oh, you put it on the website, okay.
That's why we're talking about it.
Thank you.
All right, okay. Thank you. That was, can you scroll down to the date there? It would be on the, if you scroll to the right.
Revision
49
date's
Yep,
on the
I see it,
side.
yep, revision date, yep, okay, cool.
I was just trying to see if I had.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, I was referencing the shared drive, I didn't see this on there. For me, it's quicker to go into that. Yeah, so my thoughts are, sometimes it's difficult to get into these areas, but, I think we try our best, really. I've done site walks before, sometimes we can get dirty in there. But I think really how, are we going for, what's the delta between, I really wanted to see if, how does this compare to what you had previously, and, and really that's, if it extended, or, what kind of, if it gave you more, that stream, whether it was, how far did it shift over from the previous drawing, and really just kind of understanding that, but, as far as like, having a site walk going in there, are we, as far as like what the DEP what the requirements are? I mean, are we moving away from that, from what the requirements are for, what,
I mean, technically, state.
or is it up to us really?
To set to be taken from the center line of the river, right? So you have to get in there to do that, to get the center line of the river. Right, Rick? I think it measure out.
You need to get the mean annual high water on both sides.
Yeah.
Or, in this case, on the side that's affecting this project.
Yeah.
We wouldn't really be concerned with the west side.
Right.
So then it comes down to, are we going to, and I think, it's obviously we have difference of opinion. Are we going to accept this as a best approximation
I would.
or not?
I was quite impressed by the presentation they made. So we say, nah, get out there and do it again. I thought, unless we think he was lying to us or blowing smoke, the last time he was
Okay,
here.
so let me do this. Just to move this along a little bit, I'd like to take a vote, actually a poll, not a vote, a poll, if you guys would be, will, a poll of whether or not each commissioner would, I would say, accept this as a best approximation. Okay, so I will take, so Richard, what do you say?
I will
Yes.
take it as.
Louis, would you or would you not?
I don't think I would.
No, you say no?
No.
Okay, I'm saying yes.
I would accept it.
Yes?
No,
No?
No.
So we have 3 and 3, right?
that's it.
So we do not have, we do
Quorum
not,
on it.
yeah, we don't have a quorum on it, right?
So then we gotta come up with a move forward, right? And, as to how, what the expectation is. I mean, we've got the guy that would be responsible for doing this says he can't, right? So, we have to think of a way to validate that, or have further discussion about it. So, let's think.
I think if he could put some, like, metrics behind it, like how far, what was the distance to the bank from where he could not,
Okay.
get to the
So more
river.
details about the
Pictures.
process by
That's
which,
why I had said a drone.
Okay.
Like a drone footage would, I mean, because you know, this gentleman just said that it's all flat, so if it's flat, then why wasn't everything muddy? There was only one certain section that was muddy, so what was that is my thing. I want scientific proof of what was going on, what caused it. So that's just my opinion, I don't.
Okay, so, and I think pictures is a good idea. Like,
Pictures of the brush that you can't get through. I mean,
Or the muck, right?
Mm.
Well, I will say this, again, historical precedent. In the times, and they have been rare, right, where people have, quote, not been able to get in, they have come with, you know, images and to show us, I mean, this is what it looks like, no one's going there, or this is the drop-off, you know, you don't know where it is, we don't want people ending, you know, being helicoptered out of a ravine, okay? So that has been the case, I'm just saying historical precedent, right?
Well, for me, I think if we had more details of the, you know, if we got a picture of it, then we can see.
All right, so additional details would be, some pictures of what's preventing Chris or whoever is going out there from getting to that. Potentially some, analysis of what might, well, I don't know.
Basically, how far did he go to make that determination? Like, I got within what I think was 20 feet or 50 yards or something, you know, before I couldn't do any more. And if you look at these images that I have of that area, you can see why that is, right? I mean, okay, so, and again, being fair, that has been pretty much what people have come to us with, to say, I tried my best, but, you know, look at this is what I'm looking at, you know.
Make sure he takes a photo of his legs and and how deep down into the muck he is.
Richard, this isn't really about like distrusting Chris. It's really about trying to get, you know, this is really about scientific data. It's not
No,
distrusting
well,
him.
that'd be a
It's-
classic picture of saying, see, I couldn't get any further.
No, I mean, yeah, well, again, just anything to justify, but it is true, I mean, at this point, you are right, we're basically going on someone's word, that's it, with
Mhm.
no metrics, no process, no image. That is not been historical precedent, that is true, what you say is true.
Rick, anything further? You comfortable with that?
I don't know. I mean, what exactly is it you're looking for? Pictures I get. How many pictures? 1 picture, 10 pictures, 20 pictures? What do you want?
I would
Just,
say.
I'd like very specific so we can get this moved along.
Yep, gotcha.
I would appreciate that.
Yeah,
I-
yeah.
We could have had this moved along and discussed at the last hearing when Chris was here.
Understood.
Commission was in agreement, we didn't pay to have him show up, and now I'm being asked questions that I'm not able to answer. Well, it's frustrating. I got a very upset client, and,
Yep, got it.
you know, it just seems like every time we show up, something different is being asked. If the commission could be extremely specific,
I think that's fair.
that we could then try and move this along.
I would think somewhere between 2 and 4 pictures, you know.
And we want pictures of the mud so we can see the conditions that's in Travis.
What Chris feels is preventing him from getting back in there.
Just put a number on it, 4 pictures.
Yeah, all right, that's good.
Four pictures
Images,
that prevent
4
access.
images, what is it that's preventing him from making the determination? That's number 1. Number 2 is, give us an estimate, please, of how far into the bank that he was able to get before he was
There you go.
stopped or obstructed and could not move or go any further. Where
How
would-
far into what now, I'm sorry?
Basically, how close could he get to the river before he had to stop and
How
say,
far?
it's not safe or it's not practical to go farther, any farther?
So how far from the bank is
Yeah.
impracticable?
Yeah,
Or the river
yeah,
itself,
just
yeah.
say, I got within X feet and these are the images of what I found and it wasn't reasonable to go any farther. That's basically what they're looking for.
Yeah, well,
Oh, if it makes people comfortable, if you, there's probably a time I could probably also, I could accompany this person, you know, if they, you know, that way I can kind of, with my, be like, you know,
The
with my
eyes and
own
ears,
eyes,
yeah.
see how
You'd
far
like
can
to
we
meet-
make it in, like, you know, and then, you know, I could bring that back, so,
I would like to go with you if you go.
all right, let's do it. Got your vest? You could give me a pass.
Put
Get
your
vested
waders
in
on, I
office,
think it's
too.
waders.
Yeah, get a vest. Okay, that'd be great, thank you, Lou.
Yeah.
Thanks, Roger. Okay, good plan. All right,
So how do we get in touch with Louis and Roger?
Just go through
Go through Tyler.
Tyler.
okay, well, one thing I'd say, I don't know, Rick, looked like you might have been texting with the applicant, do you want to set up something now?
The applicant's not gonna do it, Chris Fratarelli's gonna do it.
Right.
Chris isn't,
Okay, just
yeah,
asking.
no, Chris isn't Chris wasn't here because
Got it,
Yeah.
got it.
we thought we were all
Just
set.
giving
Right.
you the option,
Right.
that's all. Totally get it. So, yeah, send, I would say, see what options we have, get to Tyler, right, conservation email.
What
Or
would
we
be,
could send you options if you want.
I'm sorry?
Either we can send you options, or you can send options to Tyler. Which would you prefer?
I'd prefer that you deal directly with Chris. I mean, I don't need to be in the middle.
Right,
Okay,
I agree, I would agree with
Yeah.
that too.
Okay, we'll do that. So we'll
So some-
communicate with Chris and set that up, and we'll copy you on it.
That'd be fine.
Okay. Tyler, you good with that?
So you're gonna provide me the conditions to send to Chris? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes,
Just-
Well, yeah,
yeah,
yes.
correct.
But for the immediate thing, we want to get an email out to Chris to establish a site visit with Louis and Roger. And the sooner the better, right? We got a couple weeks. I don't know what your guys' schedule looks like.
Yeah.
Appreciate you volunteering, but I would think,
Yeah, we
It's-
can propose some dates, times, we'll talk.
All right.
And then send it, see what works best.
we'll send it to Chris. Okay.
And it'll be definitely before the next.
Well, Chris will probably be the rate limiting step. He's-
Right. That's what I'm saying. It'd be better to get him more information or options. All right, good.
And you said it's just Roger and Louis, no other commissioners?
Anybody else?
No,
I think that's good. Thanks for doing that, guys. Okay. All right.
Here's your aerial.
Thank you.
That needs to go to,
Oh, it needs to go down here?
to record. Yep.
so if that's what we're doing,
Sorry about that.
So then,
we should basically take a,
we gotta continue it
Right.
to the 29th to 7:02. So I'll give you a motion to continue the ANRAD at 47 Partridge Street to May 29th at 7:02 PM.
I don't know if it's, there was a gentleman that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh,
Go ahead.
good catch.
Yeah.
Oh, public comment, yeah.
sorry.
Yes.
Thank you.
My name is Stephen Arnold, and I live at 520 Maple Street. And I wanted to sort of give maybe a narrative or address the mud or silt issue or the water running over the banks. I've lived there most of my life, and as a small child, the Southgate Road wasn't developed, and it was on the Pond Street end, but not on the Maple Street end. So, well, around 1966, Emery LeVay came through to the neighborhood and addressed the neighborhood, and actually gave my father so much money to install conduits from Southgate Road into that stream that runs behind our house into Partridge Street to use the runoff from Southgate Road to go into the stream behind our house that runs to Partridge Street. And that could be one of the reasons why the mud has accumulated in the stream. And when I remember, it was all rusty, and that didn't jive with what it was before. It was clear and pristine, and I always thought over the years that some of the runoff from Southgate Road flowed into the stream behind my house and muddied it. And that was, he mentioned 1987, and over the years, it wasn't developed very much, but in 1986, my folks sold the land behind our house where the stream is, and Peter Schultz developed Oak Tree Lane and Maple Tree Lane and put in the conduits. I guess it was the Clean Water Act, I'm not sure, but it was probably developed so the water from Southgate Road flowed through the stream down into some of the roads behind Maple Street, and it may be the reason why all the mud accumulated on the banks and on the bottom of the stream. And I know that site, there's a sort of a berm or a busker, I think the word is, to alleviate the water flow. I've seen them at the War Memorial in Hudson. They're like barriers. I think the correct word is busker. And I don't know, since the 80s and 90s, more houses have been developed behind Southgate Road, and maybe more of the accumulated water from the conduits and silt and mud has accumulated in the stream down into the river, you called it, and is all along Pond Street into the Charles River. And that's maybe one of the answers for the silt and mud accumulation.
Very possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for that.
Thank you. Okay. So are there any other questions or comments from the audience, either online or in the audience? No?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
Yeah, Danny Lewis for the applicant.
Yes?
I think Chris Faratoli would have been here tonight, but when he gave his presentation 2 weeks ago, I thought everybody was in agreement
We understand. Yes.
with his proposal, and that's the reason why he isn't here tonight, so.
Yep.
There are contractual, yeah, I understand that that's not your concern, but this has been in the works since January 8th, I believe, and it's just really frustrating for us as applicants to keep doing this. I thought he gave a very detailed presentation 2 weeks ago, and everybody was in agreement, and the only reason it wasn't voted on that night, under my understanding, was because you didn't have time to put the paperwork together or vote on it, on the decision, and close the hearing, but it just seems we're going weeks and weeks and weeks. So this has been going on for almost 6 months. Very frustrating.
He's right.
Well, definitely appreciate that, Danny, and, you know, and I don't think this is the point you're making, just as a clarification, right? So, in order to write up the ORAD, you know, we're never able to do that for any project right there that night. I understand some questions and concerns came up that didn't appear, or definitely weren't there, or didn't appear to be there 2 weeks ago. You know, understand and, you know, respect your guys' frustration, but it is part of the process, right? People think of different things at different times. You know, our goal is to try and be as collaborative as possible, yet be, you know, doing our job and doing things the right way. So it's a fine line we walk, a balance. Our intent is not to frustrate, it's just to do it right. And I hope you appreciate and respect that, but certainly understand, you know, how things changed a bit since the last meeting, but only because you're trying to do the right thing. And
No, I understand it. I just wish that those got relayed to the engineer, you know, United Consultants. If there was anything additional that needed to be done, we would have provided it for tonight.
agreed, yep, 100%. Wish you could have been, but, you know, this stuff.
Meeting
Yep.
came up, that didn't have their information in a timely fashion, and that's not on me, that's your consultant engineer that we're paying to have, provide you feedback, and they provide it in a timely manner, and we're paying the bill for that.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, we're the ones that are getting penalized here. It keeps going on and on and on. We're paying thousands and thousands of dollars financially for contractual obligations here. And I mean, I appreciate everybody's volunteering for these commissions and everything else, and I appreciate all the work you do. It's just, this has been going on since January.
The other thing I'd say, Danny, and I get your point, but in fairness, right? I mean, you guys are asking us to make an unorthodox decision here, right? You're looking for us to go out of the box, not violate, but go against the statutes and the, state mandated regulation 310. So you've created a bit of a level of difficulty here by going through that. So that's why we're all trying to work together through this. Again, I get it, time is money for you guys. We're trying to be expedient, but, we're having to make a decision as to whether we're gonna disregard the 310 CMR, riverfront area guidelines on this, right? So that's a big decision, and it's gonna take some time, and we don't take it lightly. We just wanna make sure, to everybody's points, we have the facts, the data, and the science, in particular, to back up a decision we make, where we're making in that regard. So, that's just a little bit of counterbalance from the other side. Again, we try to be collaborative. I think this board, in particular, commission, we've always done our best to work with applicants. This is a bit of a tough one for us, that's all. I hope you respect that.
And I don't disagree with you. I just don't know what changed from 2 weeks ago, because if that was not acceptable 2 weeks ago, we would have already had it addressed, and it would have been before you tonight, addressed the way that
I
it needs.
agree, but, people have different thoughts that come to their mind at different times, right? And I understand that's not, really great for the timing of the process, but it is kind of the way, we work as volunteers. But I understand your point. Our goal is certainly not to frustrate. I understand we've done that here tonight. We'll do our best. I think we've got a couple volunteers to get some eyes on it to really expedite this thing. We want to get it done too. We really do, right? We just want to do it right. So we'll get that, we'll get out there, we'll take a look at it and figure this thing out.
I mean, it's just unfortunate that Chris Faratoli thought that we were all set, and that's the reason why he's in here tonight.
Got
A lot of,
it. Point
it's
taken.
just,
Point taken.
Okay, can we move to the?
Yep, okay.
So let's move
Thanks,
to,
Dave. Anybody else? Okay, no other comments.
all right, so I'll take a motion to continue the ANRAD for 47 Partridge Street.
Give you a motion to continue the ANRAD for 47 Partridge Street to May 29th at 7:02.
Second. Vote to continue.
Let's continue.
Continue,
Vote to continue.
Continue.
Continue?
continued. And I'd like to call a 5-minute recess, is that
Okay.
right?
Recording stopped.
Panther Way.
This is WFPRLP Franklin on 102.9 FM.
Progress.
Thank you very much. All right, so now we're going to, so we did 151 Grove.
So on the, yeah.
Now we're to Milligan. Okay. So now I'd like to open up the next hearing, which is the NOI for 55 Milligan Avenue. Do we have anything more for Milligan?
So Rick's here, so, we talked about last time, and Rick, I don't know if you have an update, but what we talked about was putting together special conditions we discussed and approving those. One thing I'll throw in is a couple questions we had. The construction sequence needs to include installation of proposed plantings, removal of landscaping debris from wetlands. Did see that we got that updated, so that's on our drive, so that's set. We did condition it just to double check it, we do have that. And the need to who is performing work and when proposed activities are scheduled, including the project narrative, and that was also updated and provided. So we did check off those two things. And then we've got some special conditions to go through. So that was our kind of perspective. I don't know if you got anything.
No, I think we addressed everything. I think the commission just didn't have time at the last hearing to review everything.
Yep.
We certainly, excuse me, allergies
Oh, I know.
are killing me. Certainly, if there are any questions, we can try and address them, but I thought most things were addressed at the last hearing.
Everybody good? Louis, you good?
I'm good.
All right, so with that, we'll read the findings and the special conditions. Let me get my list up. There we go. So, findings pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetland Protections Act, following review of the above reference, or following reference notice of intent based on the information provided in this application presented in the public hearing, this commission finds that the areas in which work is proposed significant to the following interests of the Wetlands Protection Act: public water supply, private water supply, groundwater supply, storm damage prevention of pollution, protection of wildlife habitat, and flood control. Standard special conditions would be 19, mitigation planning plan, 20, erosion control barriers, 21, extrasilation barriers, 24, work performed according to plan, 26, provision of plans and orders of conditions, 27, approved changes, 28, notification prior to work, 29, right to impose additional conditions, 30, errata as changes, 31, compliance contact information, 33, use of clean fill, 34, no straw bales, 35, stockpile maintenance, 39, limit of work marked, 41, inspections and disposal of sediment, 44, removal of barriers, 45, dewatering plan, 46, stockpile location, 47, removal of sediment, and 51, building permit sign off. In addition to those, we had the added special conditions that wetland flag A8 is not approved as part of this project or filing. It is it is located off-site. That'd be 52. 53, applicant shall provide the Conservation Commission Department confirmation that all landscaping debris has been removed from all wetlands on the site, and this removal will be approved as completed prior to the commencement of work. 54, applicant shall provide the Conservation Commission Department an erosion and sediment plan, which includes contact information of person or persons responsible for inspection and maintenance of erosion controls and all the requirements in section 7.12.1 of the bylaw regulations. 55, applicant shall provide to the Conservation Commission Department a dewatering plan if groundwater is encountered while excavating for the new foundation, and that to be approved prior to discharge. 56, applicant shall provide to the Conservation Commission and Department a project narrative as outlined in the bylaw regulations section 7.9.1, including who is performing the work and when the proposed activity will be done, to be approved prior to the commencement of work. As we just discussed, we do have that. Just want to make sure it's in the conditions, but that has been submitted. 57, applicant will provide to the Conservation Commission Department the species list and the proposed seed mix that will be used in the jurisdictional areas include this information on the plans, all to be approved prior to commencement of work. 58, applicant shall provide to the Conservation Commission and Department confirmation of the planting of 2 native high bush blueberries, and these plantings to be approved as completed prior to the commencement of work. All sound good? All right.
Okay, there's no further discussion, no further comments. I will then take a motion to approve the NOI for 55 Milliken Avenue with the proposed special conditions.
I'll give you a motion to approve the NOI for 55 Milken Avenue with the aforementioned special conditions.
Second that?
Okay?
Vote to continue, vote to approve, not to continue.
Yeah, no, don't do that then, please.
Oh,
Don't,
jeez,
don't,
he's
don't.
Richard.
It's a Freudian slip.
I
Yeah,
thought he was testing me.
yeah. Yeah, okay.
Did you change?
Yeah.
Vote to approve.
Approve,
Vote to
yeah.
Approve,
Vote to approve.
Approve.
Approve?
okay, approved, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Rick.
Thank you.
Okay. And now, finally, I would like to now open up the NOI for 444 East Central Street. I have here a note that the applicant has requested a continuation. Is there anyone here for 444 East Central Street?
Give me a call, I might want to go in here.
Do we have any comments or questions about 444 East Central Street before we move to continue?
Good evening. This is AJ Alavisos with the applicant. We requested a continuance because we are in the process of updating our plans per zoning board comments. And we didn't think there was much sense in having peer review being start now, given the plans are going to change. So we did go ahead and submit payment for the peer review. I think it's currently in the mail on the way to the Conservation Commission's office. So we were hoping we could continue the hearing and plan to discuss the project in more detail at the next hearing, or I'd also be happy if you guys would like to engage peer review now and just wait until the new plans are submitted, as well as the check is received. Up to you.
I mean, typically, we don't start until after we receive payment.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. You know, any ETA on the revised plans, AJ? Like, I don't think we've.
I would expect us to be in a position to submit in probably about 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
Okay, so he wanted to continue to May 15th, is that enough time?
Well, it's 29th, that was my typo.
Oh, 29th.
Yeah,
okay.
so that was a question, AJ, you know, do you want us to put you on for the next meeting in 2 weeks? Sounds like no.
Yes, please.
Okay,
Okay,
no problem.
right.
All right, and we are actually timing-wise at 7:03.
3, okay. All right, okay, then if there are no further comments or questions, I'll take a motion to continue for 444 East Central Street.
I'll give you a motion to continue the NOI for 444 East Central Street to May 29th at 7:03 PM.
Second,
Okay,
vote to continue.
Vote to continue.
continue,
Continue.
Continue.
Continue?
continue. Thank you, thanks, AJ. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we will move on to the next section, which is the minor buffer zone activities. This is the first one is for 862 Summer Street. And I guess there are a bunch of questions that we had for these, right?
So, just a review, right? So we had this, we talked about this at our last meeting, right? And
Mm-hmm.
part of this was in Rentham, part of
Right.
the lot's in Rentham, part of it's in Franklin. We did ask the applicant to put in a submission for just the trees that are in Franklin. They did do that, right? Yeah, again, one of these things, right? I didn't think about it last time, but I thought this time I just took a look at the GIS map. And not that it's hugely germane, but might save the applicant some trouble, is I'm not sure all the trees are nearby wetlands. But I don't know, is the applicant here for 862 Summer Street?
I believe she is. I think Mariana's iPhone is the representative. I think she had to call in.
Okay. So that was just the only addition I had, just for context in the notes. The rest of them are the notes we had last time.
What was the comment that there, most of it is in Franklin, or it's not in a
Some-
wetland?
Some is in Franklin, some is in Rentham.
Correct.
So they did a formal submission
Yeah.
of what, and what you see here is what's just in Franklin.
Good.
You know, my point is, I pulled it up on the GIS map, there's a stream running through their yard, it looks like, but the wetlands are pretty far off from what I think would be where the trees are
Right.
being cut, but, just context for, yeah.
Well, I mean, if they're in the, even if they're in the 25, what are we gonna tell them?
Right,
You can't
right,
use
right,
your 25
right.
5 feet of your property?
No, yeah, it might make it easier, right? Just things we don't have to rule on, but, you know, one, I guess, question I had, and I don't know if she's on, yeah, you know, mentioned a lot of the trees are dead. I don't know if that was via arborist. Certainly the one that's leaning is an easy one, right? But at any rate,
Looks like. Another iPhone.
yeah.
Is that the first, oh, that's,
Tyler, is the applicant?
It looks like she's
I
there.
saw
but
her
she's-
phone, like her video come up when she joined the call. Yeah, I'd spoken to her earlier just about attending if you did have any questions.
so the,
I mean, it's a little academic, but.
Mari, are you able to hear us?
Looks like she's got like mute.
Maybe she just like stepped away, right?
Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Hey Mariana, how
Hi.
you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
Okay, you can hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry, I was eating dinner.
you were right.
No problem at all.
Honesty.
All right, how can I help?
So, two questions. One is, this might help simplify things. So what's caused you to believe that these trees are in, around, or near wetlands, which is why we would need to get involved?
So I reached out because I had a few guys come out and give me quotes for trees, and one of them was like, oh, you're like close to a wetland, like if we cut these down, the town's gonna sue both of us. So that kind of scared me, so I was like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, he said it was gonna be 15 grand.
Oh, man, okay.
So that's why I reached out to you guys, and it's, you know, it's been a process.
Okay. All right, well, I mean, that's fine. So you had an arborist look at these trees, so they're the ones that evaluated them is dead, so to speak?
Yeah, so the guy that I ended up going with, he said that, I mean, at least the one in the front yard is definitely dead. The ones in the back, they're dead. And then the one that's leaning over, that's the one I'm most concerned about because,
That's an easy one.
I mean, it's literally at a 45-degree angle
Yeah.
towards my property,
So how many trees total? Looks like 2, 3, 4, 6, maybe?
Yeah, I think it ends up being like 6 or 7, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even looking at the pictures, I don't really see, I don't see any issues, do you guys?
No.
No.
Yeah, I think the ones that are, I guess, the Franklin ones would be the ones in the backyard and then the one in the front.
Okay, so some of these, so okay.
So they can't all be near wetlands, front and back, yeah.
Yeah, I imagine the one in the front yard is not, and that one's definitely dead.
Yeah, okay,
And there's a suspicion here that they're not even
yeah,
that close to a wetland.
right.
Yeah, well, when I looked at the wetland maps, because I kind of do this for work too, I look at a lot of the FEMA flood maps and kind of just, it shows where the wetlands are too, and they're really not that close. So I was just doing my due diligence, reaching out, and
Well, appreciate that. And do you have a stream going through your backyard?
Sorry?
Do you have a stream that goes through your backyard?
Yeah, but it's further back, like way closer to the power lines.
That's what I thought. Okay, yeah, so, I mean, are you planning on, taking stumps out? Maybe the one in the front yard?
Yeah, at least for the one in the front yard.
You're okay leaving the
Definitely.
stumps on the other ones?
I mean, if I don't have to, I guess the ones that are like both, like directly in the backyard, I was hoping to
Yeah.
at least grind them down. Is that what you mean?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a question, right? I get you, right? Especially in the yard, you know, aesthetically.
But this is pretty disturbed.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay.
I don't
So-
s- You could, yeah, take the, I would say take the
This is
stumps
not
out.
habitat.
No, I
This is
get it,
not
I get it.
So just a quick question on this one. So, so your properties, I'm pulling it up on the map. Definitely, you have a bisection of it through your house. Are we able to vote on the ones that are on the other side of the town? Like,
Not in Rentham.
So not in Rentham, right?
No.
So
No.
are all these in Franklin, the
Yeah.
ones you're proposing?
Yes, so I think the part of the land that's in Rentham, I think isn't part of this.
Okay.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
mean, I think we could probably do all of them.
okay. Yeah, just because I think earlier submissions for, tree removal, they'll usually include like a plan. And I definitely like the photos too, where it shows us and also your description of where they're at. I think on the plan, it just kind of gives us like, just pinpoints on where they're at and,
Yep.
all the ones that we dealt with, at least the ones I dealt with, they were, this is a unique property where just, you have two towns here. So I just want to make sure that we're not, we're doing the ones that are pertaining to our town.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, so I think the ones that would be for you guys are just like, definitely the one in the front yard, and then the three that are standing in
Yep.
the back, and then the one that is fully leaning over. So,
Okay.
so I'm good with, if you just want to rule on that, that would be great.
Okay.
And then I'll take up
This
the
is
rest of
jurisdictional
Rentham.
to us or Rentham's.
Oh, it's just like, this is
Yes.
like,
I know.
Right.
She's just looking for a blessing then, so we won't come
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, I mostly, the guy who came and looked at the trees, he was kind of a crank, but he did warn me, so here I am.
Well, look, better safe than sorry. We appreciate you going through the process, we just
Oh, thanks.
trying to help you out here, so, yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
So what do we do? Vote to say, go ahead and cut them down?
Approve.
Approve the MDZA.
Yeah, approved.
Okay. Are we ready?
Should we
Lawyer,
just
you
get the
comfortable
number
with
of
this?
trees?
huh?
You're comfortable with the
Yeah,
specific?
yeah, as long as they're in Franklin and we don't, and, are they keeping the stumps or just curious?
No.
No?
The ones in the yard, I can
She's
still
gonna
grind them. And again,
wants
I'm
to
not
make a
even
little
sure it's
lawn.
jurisdictional for us to make a
It's already
request. I'm-
pre-disturbed.
I'm-
Yeah, if it's not even,
I mean, you keep the stumps because you want to provide habitat, that's the whole point.
yeah,
But that's just not habitat, it's in a
If it's-
lawn,
okay,
so.
yep, just, yeah.
So motion to approve the MBZA for 862 Summer Street for any of the trees out of the 6 that are located in Franklin?
Okay, all right, is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Okay, go ahead,
I'll
second,
second it,
all right,
and I'll vote to approve it.
approve it,
Approve?
approve,
Approve.
Approve.
Approved?
even though we don't even know if
Yahoo!
we're supposed to approve, but we're approving it.
Purdue taking the time out of a.
If you cut them down and rent them, don't tell us.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
that,
right. If they fall and
Good
rent
to
them,
know, no.
yeah.
Good job with the
All right.
pictures. Thanks
Yeah.
for talking
Thank
it
you.
through.
Yeah.
We'd rather talk it through and be safe, so thank you.
Okay, thank
Good
you.
job.
yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you so much, and, well, have a good night.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Same to you.
Thank
Go
you.
finish supper.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Okay, so we will move now on to the certificates of compliance. And we have 2 for Grove Street improvements, phase 1 and phase 2. And basically, apparently, we were not able to have Beta inspect these properties because of conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Where does that leave us then?
So here's what I would say, right? And Roger, you might be able to weigh in, right? This is the essentially the walkway along Grove Street there. You know, if you look at the material we've got, we put together a pretty elaborate list of conditions. So the decision to make is, this is a town project.
This is a town project.
This is a town project, right? Improvement, access. Do we feel that based on the information that they provided back, that the conditions were met? We don't have the ability to have Beta go out and inspect the conditions in detail. I will say anecdotally, you know, I run in that area. I run on that little path now once in a while.
Does it look good?
It looks good, well
Looks nice.
done. I'm personally comfortable with it.
I see it all the time,
Yeah, I
looks
figured you
good.
probably do as well,
Yeah.
so,
It's good for you, Roger?
Good,
yeah.
looks really good.
I guess we got a inspection.
A cursory
Yeah, at least
inspection.
I thought I'd throw that out there.
Okay.
If you guys feel comfortable with that.
That's fine by me.
Yeah, the recourse would be that we go out there and study it in greater detail. Okay, I mean, those are the options, so. All right.
So do we need a motion?
We need two separate motions for phase one and phase two to approve the COCs for each phase,
Based on our inspection?
based upon our cursory,
Our cursory review of the
our cursory commissioner inspection.
cursory commissioner inspection.
Yes.
I don't know, you gotta get, okay, want a motion on that? I'll make a motion that we approve the, issue a certificate of compliance based on the cursory commissioner's inspection or review
For Grove Street.
for Grove Street Phase One.
Improvements phase one, yes, okay. We have,
I'll second that.
a second?
And I'll vote to approve it.
Approve it, we?
Approve.
Approve?
Approve.
Approve.
Approve?
Approve, okay, now, second one. Richard?
Okay. Make a motion to approve the certificate of compliance for Grove Street Improvements Phase Two, based on the same two
Yeah.
What we-
Inspections.
inspections.
You had it, yeah.
Yes.
Commissioner inspections,
Cursory commissioner inspection.
cursory commissioner inspections.
Good.
You know, she's gonna hate us on writing the note.
Oh, she's gonna love it.
Yeah.
Oh, she's gonna love us, yeah. Not yes.
Good.
Yes.
Second,
I'll second that.
I'll vote to approve it.
Approve.
Approve?
Approve.
Approve.
Approve?
Approved. Thank you very much. Okay, and then we have the violations enforcement. I have a note here. Confirmed letters were issued and mailed. What is that?
Right,
mean?
so last time, these were potential violations that we talked about last time. I think the move forward was we're gonna have a letter issued to them.
Okay,
Yeah, I had sent I was waiting on Jeff to have them drafted and then
Okay.
once they're finalized, I can mail
Okay, I didn't catch that. All right, so,
So we haven't sent it yet?
right,
Okay.
so we wanna draft something up.
okay.
Wasn't anything, there was a couple site visits today, or one site visit today, but nothing to discuss quite yet, so we'll look at that next time. But these were the two things that we followed up from last time.
Okay.
We have another one, Bubbling Brook.
Yeah, same thing.
Both, they're both, yeah, two,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
two, one and two, yeah.
So these were both issued letters.
Okay.
Okay. Then we have minutes for May 1, 2025. Has anyone been able to read those or review those?
I looked at them pretty detailed. This-
I didn't see, I didn't see anything.
They look good, yeah.
Yeah.
Or they were accurate.
There's a lot.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take a motion then to approve the minutes.
I'll give you a motion to approve the minutes from May 1st.
Second,
Okay,
approve.
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 Approve?
Approved, thank you. And under discussion items, I see no updates. So we have no updates, no discussion items. And I think we are done with the agenda unless anyone has anything else.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, on Tri-County, the construction that they're doing at the new entrance, I was not part of that process with Tri-County, so I don't know what is in the bylaws or whatever for it. But there were trucks exiting the new entrance, and they were producing a lot of dust. And the students were walking, school was out and were walking down past all of that dust. And in other projects we've had, it's always been dust control. So I don't know if Tri-County has that, but the students, I mean, that's not healthy.
I wonder, yeah,
So-
that may be an issue for health.
So I did, glad you brought that up. So I did put that, I observed the stormwater event, I think it was last week. I put together, I spoke to Brika Lai, because I basically, I take that path, it's my walking path, going up to Tri-County, that, I live near that
Right
area.
in the corner, right?
And also, yes, and then also my dog, so, you know, and I went there because, just, you know, to walk my dog up there, and I noticed a lot of sediment, just running down, more than usual, so it's just like, but you know, we definitely, with the rainfall, and we had a lot of it these past, you know, now 2 weeks now. It was very observable. I did bring it up to Brika Lai, and I did send a message over to the departments here just to kind of do a follow-up on that for sure, because there's a lot of runoff, sediment just flowing down, not only from that road, new constructed road, but also it just, you know, whatever doesn't catch there, it also starts flowing further down the road, and you know, my dog doesn't appreciate the muck that's out there too.
Yeah,
And then the kids too, and then when it's
They're
getting
breathing
drier,
dust.
you know, definitely a lot of sediment. So I did bring it up. It's and this was actually, I got an email about it today. So they're looking into it, and they're speaking to the contractor. So definitely, you know, yeah, I'm living it. So yeah.
Yeah, I was sitting at the light and I just saw these kids and all this dust, and I was like, oh my gosh, they're breathing all of that in. And
Yeah,
it's like-
yeah. There's a lot. It's and especially and a lot of it times too, you expect that from construction, you know, debris, but they're also, you know, I have to read into what was kind of said on the record as far as like the, you know, the conditions were and everything, just to kind of understand what that is, because that was before my time here. So,
Yes.
but I did, you know, there was definitely an obvious observation out there, and I definitely put it together this week. So, but thanks for bringing it up. Yeah, I think I beat you to it, though.
Question. We me or one of us as a conservation commission, you see this runoff coming down there, kind of just waltz into the construction trailer and said, hey, boys, you better get something out there and clean that mess up. Because as a construction guy, I have been yelled at lots of people for not doing their due diligence on that. But do we have, as a conservation commission, would that be overstepping the bounds of what?
Well, see, I think the question is, do you do that as a private citizen?
Oh,
or
well,
do
that
you
way,
do that
as a private citizen, you could go in there and.
Right, of course, or do you do that as official conservation business? I would honestly probably err on the side of caution and probably do that as a private citizen
Yeah.
and not say, hey, I'm part of the conservation
Yeah.
commission,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's what I thought too.
That's what
You'd
I.
probably be pushing the limits of what was,
Well, you also might
appropriate.
be pushing ethics limits too, because, you know,
Ethics.
you're not supposed to be throwing your credentials around, you know, as a member of a board,
yeah,
right?
okay.
I mean, that's part of the ethics training. So you could potentially be violating that.
But Louis, there's nothing stopping you from going up and knocking to him and says, guys, I know what you're doing, but you got water running down the road here, you ought to do
Yeah, I
something
mean,
about taking
just
care of it.
advising them if there's this thing that you've seen as a private citizen, that's fine.
Well, you know, I
But you don't have to do that,
I mean, I think it's on record too that, you know, where, you know, anybody can look me up and see where I'm sitting at this point. So, yeah, like I said, it's, for me, I think on my end, it was more, I didn't go into the construction area. We just basically basically it was, my sidewalk was up that road and then
Yeah.
into the parking lot, which is, I normally travel, so. But it's, like I said, it was, just, hey, you know, heads up, I did coordinate it with Bricolai,
Yeah.
and then and really just to kind of make sure that it
So
was.
I have a question, is there like a stockpile or something there that you think some of this is coming from, or is it just the basic, all the dust that's being generated from the project, and, the digging and everything?
Well, that's interesting, because there's you know, there's definitely, they built up the ramp where, with the retaining wall. So they
Okay.
built that up, so I think over time that gets, you know, eroded. I haven't gone into the construction site, because like I said, I'm just,
Right.
you know, this just happens to be a area where, you know, I've been walking, taking my kids out there, bike riding, you know, I've been using that site before all this happened. But really, I think what's, you know, really is just, I'll let more of them speak to what's happening, but it really, what I'm seeing is just a lot of erosion, or basically like settlement from that construction area. Wherever it
Coming off
comes
the
from.
whole road, I mean, they got a
It
dirt
just flows
road.
down, for sure. And like I said, it was very apparent that day. I walked my dog, and, you know, it's just like, yeah, I gotta take some pictures here. Just show
Well, you got a hold of it, ultimately got a hold of the town or whatever.
They did, and like I said, it was.
They'll get yelled at.
You know, I did put together you know, just a photo summary of, you know, with descriptions of where I took these photos, and said, hey, can somebody take a look at this? And like I said, I got a really prompt response, that they were looking into it, so. But yeah, I think it's just, has to be probably monitored a little bit better, whoever's, their CM is, and also whoever they hire to clean out that area. But, you know, if I definitely see it, and if, you know, you passing by sees it, yeah, I can see, I'm sure a lot of other folks will see it too, because.
Well, also now with the warmer weather and people start opening their windows,
Yeah.
you know people are gonna start
Oh, yeah.
complaining, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like.
It'll go from too wet to too dry.
Yes,
We'll
exactly.
have dust flowing in.
Yes.
Yeah, this
With
is the.
water trucks out there.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
yeah.
not plowing, that's dust.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Pollen right now, Jesus.
yeah, that's why we don't open the windows.
Yep.
Exactly. Like we've been cleaning
We
that,
do, but
cleaning that sticky stuff off the furniture.
we
and
still
the
open them,
floors and
but we
everything else
rue the
makes-
day that we do it.
I run my air filters all the time, you know,
Oh,
but that was before, you know, it's just for the
No.
pollen, it's just a lot of stuff.
No, I'm right next to like a forest of pine trees, and let me tell you, you do not open your windows till that's all gone.
Oh, yeah, that's what,
month of June, right?
It's not,
Yeah.
not even, because I've done that before, and I've come home and my entire house is just yellow.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay. All right, so guys, unless we have anything else, I guess we move to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Have a second?
Second that?
Okay.
I vote to
Undebatable?
adjourn.
Aye?
Aye.
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 Okay,
Adjourn.
we're adjourned. Thank you.
How'd we get out of here? It's only 8:25.
Right.
Thanks for sticking around, sir.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thanks.
Tyler, we might be changing anyway, but did you get that corrected and updated, on that?
I don't have my